Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome to my reaction to the Week 4 college basketball AP poll rankings. This is my first reaction. I did see who they have at number 1, but that's about it. So this is first video in a while. Hopefully more coming out soon, college basketball related. But so the AP college basketball poll, I have some problems in the past. I haven't had I like it. It's a mixed bag with the AP poll, in my opinion. Depends on how you look at it. Is it the top 25 teams in college basketball, or is it the top 25 teams of this week? I was like, it depends on kind of how you look at it, in terms of how you would rank these teams. But let's go ahead and get into it. Houston at number 1. To me, that's the correct number 1. They are one of the most well-rounded teams, and they still haven't even played their best basketball yet. They look absolutely they're scary. They're a scary team to go up against. Houston at number 1, Texas at number 2. Again, that's pretty much right. You can debate who you would have between these next couple teams, these next few teams at number 2 for me. I would personally lean Texas. I think that's the correct answer there. As Chris Beard is a fantastic coach, and the talent he has at Texas, the way they just blew Gonzaga out of the water, very deserving of this number 2 spot. Virginia at 3, again, like it. Tony Bennett, fantastic coach, very well coached team. Again, you could have them at 2 if you would like. You could have them a little lower as well. But number 3, no problems with that. And same thing with number 4, Arizona. You could have them a little high. You could have them as high as 2, in my opinion. But they're a fantastic team. Missing a couple pieces from last year, which sucks, but they still look fantastic. They're just filled with a bunch of dudes that go out, they play basketball, they have their style, and they execute it fantastically. So Arizona in here at number 4, no problems. Purdue at number 5. This is where I see a bit of discrepancy, because this Purdue team it's not last year's Purdue team. Has young guard play, but they're playing fantastic. 2 freshman guards, fantastic. And Zach Edey is probably the front runner for player of the year. Like, if the season ended right now, Zach Edey is probably winning player of the year, if I had to guess. But it's like they don't have the like, outside of Edey, they don't have the talent of Ivy and Travion Williams. There's just there's no players that have stepped up to that quite yet. And I don't know if they will, but this is just, to me, a more well-rounded team. And I like this Purdue ranking at number 5. Number 6, Baylor. I love Scott Drew. I love the program that he has created in Baylor. They're absolutely fantastic, guys. They have the offensive L.J. Cryer, Adam Flagler, Keontae George. Their guard play is fantastic, and then they're all fantastic defenders. So Baylor is a very, very scary team. And so is Creighton. Creighton at 7. Again, could argue for them to be ranked higher. I was like, their only loss coming to Arizona. Creighton is a fantastic team. Creighton is a very scary team, in my opinion. Same thing, Creighton, UConn, the Big East teams. UConn looks fantastic. They looked absolutely amazing during the Phil Knight, whichever one they were in. Looked fantastic during it. They looked amazing. Very well deserving of this number 8 rank. Kansas looks good. They look good. They should have lost to Wisconsin, not for the fact that we didn't rebound. Dude was out when he passed it in for the 3-pointer sent to overtime. But they still won. Then that got blown out by Tennessee. So that didn't help. But they're still a very good team. They're still very talented pieces. Jalen Wilson looks fantastic. Grady Dick is amazing. Lacking a big, which they've had in years past, but I think they'll survive. I think they'll be fine. Number 9, perfectly acceptable rating there. Indiana, number 10. I have some problems with this, solely for the fact that they have played absolutely no one. Like, Indiana, when you go and look at their schedule, I guess Xavier, forgot about Xavier, but they won by 2. Granted, Xavier is a very good team. Xavier's a very good team. Haven't put together the wins quite yet, but they've been playing these close games. But outside of that, their best win is either Miami or Ohio or Morehead State. So yeah, that's not really the type of wins we're looking for in the top 10 team for me. So I wouldn't have them this high. I just wouldn't. I like the talent. They just compared to everybody else, and I get it's not necessarily their fault, even though they made the schedules. But I wouldn't put Indiana in the top 10 yet. I just wouldn't. Um, then the tied for 11th, Alabama, Arkansas. I'm a huge fan of Arkansas, and I'm a fan of both these teams. I like both these teams. I love their coaches. Coaches are two of my favorites in the entire country. Um, but I would personally lean Arkansas over Alabama. I have fewer questions about Arkansas personally than I do Alabama. Still very well deserving of the 11, even slightly higher above in Indiana. But no problems with them being both ranked at 11. Tennessee at 12. Again, no problems. Okay, their one loss to Colorado, little confusing. But I think it'll be a one time loss. I was like I don't see it. I mean they'll lose again, but not to a team as bad as Colorado is. And then the absolute demolition of Kansas, that helps a lot. Gonzaga at 14. Gonzaga is a very good team. Okay, don't mistake. Gonzaga is a very good team. They're just not where they've been, especially last year. Last year is one of the best Gonzaga teams I have seen. I think that's fair to say. But this Gonzaga team is still a very good team. They are still a super talented team, and like Timmy is still fantastic. They're just the wing play is a little inconsistent at the moment, and that's kind of holding them back. But I do think come March they'll be a fantastic team, and they're still a very good team now. Auburn again, a team that just hasn't played anybody. Their best win is against against St. Louis, where they won by 5, which is good. It's good. Just I don't like this. I didn't like this team going into the year, and struggling like they have a little bit, like beating Northwestern by 1 and only scoring 43 points. That's not good. That is horrible. That that should almost be considered a loss. That's how bad that is. That's just bad on Auburn's part. I don't like this Auburn team. I like Bruce Pearl. I just don't like this team. As it is just I don't see this as a team that's going to do well in the tournament. But overall, as like I think 15 is way too a bit too high. I'd have them borderline top 25 personally. I don't like the way this Auburn team is constructed. Illinois at 16. I've been having debates with Illinois. They've looked fantastic. Terrence Shannon Jr. looks great. Looks absolutely amazing. But then outside of this tournament right here, they played UCLA and Virginia specifically. Again, no one. Which, to be fair, they played 2 top 25 teams. Still, I was like, and UCLA just isn't what we always say they will be after their finals run, after their championship game run, and which I think is happening to UNC as well. We tend to do that with successful March teams. I was like, UCLA just isn't who we thought they were. So I was like, the win kind of doesn't help a little bit, but the Virginia game, I think it's still a very good Illinois team. I think they're much better than Auburn. But as outside of that, I wouldn't have them too much higher. I like the ranking there. Duke at 17, more specifically ahead of North Carolina at 18. I do commonly see these teams grouped together in these rankings now. I don't have a problem with it. I do think North Carolina was overrated, obviously. But I didn't think they were going to be this. I didn't think they were going to lose to Iowa State overrated. I didn't realize they were that bad. Duke, though, like their losses aren't bad. They don't have bad losses. Just like in terms of when you look at the overall resume, the Purdue game was bad, but I don't feel that bad about Duke. They're just young. They're young, and they don't have Coach K, which hurts. So give them a second, and give them a couple days, and they'll be right back. Nearing the top 10. Give them some time to get used to the college basketball game, especially when you're playing a 7'4", absolute dominant Zach Edey. I was like, if you're a freshman, you are going to struggle, and if you don't, you are something special. So I was like, that's just how that would work. And then North Carolina, I hate their offense. Their offense just is not. It doesn't flow. Last year when they got hot, their offense was flowing. Transition was seamless. Even like off and inbound, they could still get up. They could push the ball. They're not doing that. They're sending Caleb Love to dribble with his left hand and take step back threes. And that's just not going to be successful, especially when you have someone like Armando Bacot. You have to utilize him. I think they're still getting, Hubert Davis still getting, he has a couple pieces in there that could be interesting. The Northwestern transfer, I'm blanking on his name, but he's a good shooter, a good big shooter. That probably will play some Brady Manic-esque roles for this UNC team. So that's something to look out for. I don't think they'll ever get to the number 1 spot again. I don't see this team do it. They're a very good team. They're a good team. I just don't like their offense. Same thing with Kentucky. They don't have shooters. Neither of these teams has shooters. They have very talented players and a very good coach. But Kentucky, that's been their downfall. Like when they play these teams better than them, in my opinion, they lack the offense to go out and win. I was like, they just do. So that's UNC. That's Kentucky's problem, is their lack of offense, lack of finding someone who can consistently score. Getting the ball moving. You have these dominant big men, but how do you get them involved? That's the problem for those two teams right there. Michigan State also is, to me, they're a team that will always fight. Okay, Tom Izzo always has his team fighting. This is one of the best Michigan State teams we've seen in the last few years. I was like, which is a very wide margin, but they're the best team in a couple years. But with that being said, they haven't, like, their guards Hoggard and Walker are fantastic, but they're not necessarily these big stars. Hauser's playing good. They're playing very good. So I think they'll give these teams a run for their money. They'll give Gonzaga, Kentucky, Alabama runs for their money. Losing to Oregon, this beat up of an Oregon team isn't great, and struggling with Portland also is not great. Portland's a very good team, and I get they were also a little beat up going into it. But as like Michigan State, I think still deserves to be ahead of Kentucky, because they're going to win a lot of these tough games. They're going to win most of them. They are pretty fun to watch. Their transition game is really fun for me. But I'd have them a little higher, probably ahead of these two teams, North Carolina, Kentucky. But I feel 20 is actually a fairly fair place. It's probably where they should have been instead of 12 to start off. So Michigan State, pretty fair ranking right there. UCLA, again, they have talent. Hawkes, like they're all Hawkes, Campbell, Clark. They're talented. They are, but they're just something's missing off this team. As I personally, I haven't figured it out quite yet. But it's something's different, and I think they're relying a little too much on their stars. Which you've problem with North Carolina relying too much on their guards. And that's going to cause UCLA some problems, as it already has. They haven't looked good. They just haven't in their ranked games. Granted, in the games where they play these lower, like these mid-major schools, they look great. They look great as they should, but against top competition, haven't been fantastic there. Maryland, I like Maryland. I was like, granted, I'm a Big Ten fan. I'm a huge fan of the Big Ten, but Maryland, I like this team. They have blown out everybody. They don't have, like, their biggest win, St. Louis, Miami, but that's better than a team like Auburn's. Like, Auburn beat St. Louis by 5. Yeah, Miami beat them by like let's see here, 28. Like that is that is a that's a big difference there. This Miami team is very good. This is a very good not Miami. Miami is also a good team. This is a very good Maryland team. Maryland is a fantastic basketball team. I like to see them still ranked. I've seen them drop off a little bit in a few of these Instagram rankings, which take that as you would. Maryland, I like this ranking. I might even have them a tiny bit higher when I do mine. Iowa State, another conflicted one, because they beat North Carolina, which is great. North Carolina is also not quite what we thought they were, and they don't have any other quality ones ahead of that. They're just a question mark to me. Personally, I do think I would have them ranked. I think they deserve it, which I'm hesitant in using. It kind of indicates I don't think they're that good, which I think they are a very good team. I do like this. I like this Iowa State team. The loss to UConn hurts, but I will say UConn looks like one of the most dominant teams in college basketball right now. I was like, they do. So, yeah, Iowa State at 23, got no problems there. San Diego State at 24, I saw this coming. Unfortunately, I'm also not, I claim a few fandoms here. But, yeah, it's like, I think San Diego State is still a very good team. Nathan Mensah does need to develop a jump shot, because otherwise we're just going to see what Arizona did to him. Just have your big in the middle. Can't get any offense off of that. Nathan Mensah, even if he doesn't make it, just needs to shoot. Please. Okay, your offense needs to do that. Otherwise, you just won't be able to get anything going. But yeah, their losses to Arizona and Arkansas are two teams I have in the top 10. I'll admit it there. I was like, I have them. I think I have Arkansas at number 10, and then Ohio State, who beat Texas Tech, who has beaten these very good teams, and who the AP poll has ranked 25th. Yes, these 3 wins aren't great on resume wise. I mean, they're good. They're good teams, but they're not going to get you anything much higher. I get the reasoning for 24th. I'd still have them higher. I still think they're a fantastic defensive team, one of the best defensive teams in the country. Their offense is the weak spot, as we pointed out with UCLA, Kentucky, and UNC. That'll get you in some problems, but those 3 teams are nowhere near the defensive team that San Diego State is. So I still like San Diego State. I think they are a dangerous team. I think they're an Elite 8 team. I honestly think they are. And Ohio State here, their one loss coming to San Diego State, then beating Cincinnati, who I hold in some pretty high respect there, and Texas Tech, who I really hold in some high respect. Yeah, Texas Tech I think is a fantastic team, and that is a amazing win for Ohio State. They have a chance to add to it later in the week with the Duke game. But yeah, overall with these AP rankings, I understand them. I very easily understand them, and I don't have many problems with them. I don't. I don't like Auburn, but that's just a personal one. But I understand how they have them this high. A couple of the receiving votes, TCU, another conflicting one. The loss to Northwestern State's a little confusing, but they've looked great outside of that. Iowa, same thing. The loss to TCU wasn't great, but they look good outside of that. And you can make cases. I love Charleston getting this high of attention. Texas Tech, I think, should be a little higher, but that's just personal things. Same thing with Wisconsin. Well, not necessarily. I think Wisconsin is a very good team. I think they're a little underrated when Johnny left. But this is still a talented team. Their scoring may be an issue, but Connor Sejan's looking very good. If Chucky Hepburn, very good player. And the happiest thing I am to see here is New Mexico getting attention in the top 20. This is amazing for me to see as a global fan. This is amazing. As a New Mexico getting 1 vote, love to see it. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Adios.